U.S. President Donald Trump is claiming that Iran's new president has asked for a ceasefire. In a post on his Truth Social website, Trump said that Iran's new regime president, much less radicalized and far more intelligent than his predecessors, has just asked the United States of America for a ceasefire. We will consider when the Hormuz Strait is open, free, and clear. Until then, we are blasting Iran into oblivion, or as they say, back to the Stone Ages. Now, Iran's foreign ministry has described Trump's claims as false and baseless. Iran also has no new president, but the same one as before the war. I'm joined now by our correspondent, Misha Komodovsky in Washington, D.C. And Misha, what evidence did Trump present that Iran would like to come to a ceasefire?
Well, Sarah, President Trump did not really present any verifiable evidence here. He relied on his own claims of back-channel communication, which has not been confirmed by Iran or by independent sources. As supporting evidence, he pointed to his assertion that Iran's new leadership was more open to negotiations. He pointed to claims of private or indirect outreach from Tehran.
Misha, Iran has denied any direct talks with the United States, but who's speaking for the country?
Well, this denial doesn't necessarily mean that no context exists. It means no officially acknowledged negotiations exist. And officially, the message comes from Iran's foreign ministry, which handles public diplomacy, public messaging, and is the voice we hear denying those negotiations. But analysts say that the real power in Iran sits much higher, with the supreme leader and a network of security institutions, including the Revolutionary Guard. And those actors don't usually speak publicly, and they have a history of using back channels or intermediaries here. So when Trump claims that Iran is signaling interest in a ceasefire and Tehran publicly denies it, as we see here, both things can be actually true at the same time.
Trump seems desperate, meantime, Misha, for an off-ramp, and his deadline is quickly approaching for the opening of the Strait of Hormuz. I believe that is going to be next Tuesday. How is he going to get out of this? I mean, he's giving this big statement a little bit later today. Do we know what he might say, what his plan is?
Well, if only President Trump was predictable, Sarah, and President Trump has a history of pushing back those deadlines. And Trump most likely way out of this war isn't just a formal deal. It's a simpler political off-ramp. One option is a quiet de-escalation here. Tensions ease and ships move safely. Again, in this case, and there is no official agreement, just less fighting and less casualties behind the scenes. Another format, another scenario here is an informal understanding between two parties where both sides actually step back a bit and deny any deal publicly. Or Trump could simply declare victory, arguing his pressure worked and Iran backed down even without any clear proof, and we have to wait and see which scenario he will pick, and we will find out tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern time when he will address the nation during the prime time.
Misha Komodovsky in Washington, D.C., thank you so much. And let's get more on all of this. I'd like to bring in Favaz Gerges. He is professor of Middle Eastern politics and international relations at London School of Economics in London. Welcome to the program, and thank you so much for rejoining us. I'd just like to begin by asking you who you think is currently speaking on behalf of Iran. Are there competing centers of power?
Well, we know what we know in the past 4 weeks or so is that Israel and the United States have assassinated most of the top leaders of Iran, including the supreme leader, the defense minister, the de facto leader of Iran, Ali Larijani. Now you still have Mujtaba Khamenei, who was selected as the new supreme leader, even though we have not really seen him publicly. You have the president of Iran, you have the head of the parliament, Ghalibaf. Keep in mind for your own viewers, there's basically Israel and the United States are hunting Iran's leaders on an hourly basis. So if you were in Iran, how can you really sit and deliberate and consult and strategize? So we no longer have a centralized decision-making process. What you have is a fragmented decision-making process. So the president, the head of the parliament, the Islamic Revolutionary Guards, and that's why it seems to me it's going to be very, very difficult to reach any kind of enduring ceasefire or settlement between the United States and Iran, given that the war itself in Iran is hunting and really traumatizing Iran leaders, in particular political leaders, as opposed to the Islamic Revolutionary Guards who are operating the war.
So, I mean, given that set of conditions, which you have outlined, we have on the one hand Trump saying that the U.S. is going to, and I'm quoting here, blast Iran back to the Stone Ages until the Strait of Hormuz is open. What do you think Iran's strategy might be to counter that right now?
Well, first of all, I don't think we should take President Trump's words very seriously because he sends and signals conflicting, contradictory statements, and he exaggerates a great deal. Facts are alien to President Trump. He and Israel have been bombing Iran nonstop for more than 4 weeks, and they also carried out a war against Iran last June. I think all Iran wants to do is to survive. This is survival. So as long as Iran survives this, consequential war, the Iranian regime will say, we have won. In fact, what we have seen in the past 4 weeks or so is that Iran has turned its weak hand into a stronger hand. It has asserted its control over the Strait of Hormuz. Think of the world economy, energy, inflation, slowing the world economy. In fact, it's President Trump who basically turned a strong hand into a weaker hand. He is desperately trying to create a narrative about victory in order to really climb down from the tree. He wants out, but he is in a strategic bind. There is no off-ramp for President Trump at this particular moment because the pressure in the United States is really increasing a great deal. Americans understand the language of their pocketbooks. And now gasoline prices have increased beyond $4 for a gallon of gas and oil. So he wants out. The reality is Iran does not really want to give him a way out, a face-saving formula. So we have to wait and see what President Trump has to say now. But he is desperately trying to bring this war of choice into an end sooner rather than later.
And he also has a deadline which he has imposed, which he says, the Strait of Hormuz must be reopened by Tuesday or else. What if that doesn't happen? What do you think comes next?
Please, for your own viewers, President Trump does not take ultimatums seriously. First 48 hours, then 10 days. Yesterday he said he was going to end the war without even forcing Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz, quote unquote, last night. And now today he said he will not end the war unless the Strait of Hormuz is open and clear and free. So what does it tell you? It tells you that this is a personalized decision-making process. It's a one-man show. Where are American institutions? Where's the State Department, the National Security Council, the Defense Department? The two former defense secretaries of the United States today had a major article in the New York Times who called basically on the American Congress to take charge of American foreign policy, to hold President accountable, because American soldiers now are at risk for their lives because President Trump has deployed 50,000 troops. And their argument, their overarching argument is that there is no strategy. There is no end game. And the Congress basically has forsaken its responsibilities in terms of checks and balances. And only the Congress can declare war, yet President Trump is waging war unilaterally, solo, based on his own instinct, as he says.
I'd like to ask you, I know this is a difficult question because, wars by their very nature are unpredictable. But, if you had to guess, And if you were to put this conflict into the bigger picture for us, when all is said and done, where do you think this fighting might leave Iran and where it might leave the region?
Well, as we say, we teach our students that basically you can easily start a war, but you'll never end the war on your own terms. And political actions, particularly wars, do sometimes really produce the opposite results from the intended consequences. If you ask me about the big picture now, it seems to me that while the United States and Israel have achieved some major tactical gains, destroying, Iran's industrial base and strategic infrastructure and killing its top leaders, they have really lost the war strategically. That Iran, think of what Iran has done just by surviving, by resisting. It has now asserted control over the Strait of Hormuz, the first time in more than 50 years. It still controls more than 400 kilos of enriched uranium. It has increased the economic pain worldwide. You in Germany, and here I am in the United Kingdom and the United States and all over the world. And the reality is now, unless there is a diplomatic solution, unless there is a peaceful solution between the United States and Iran, Iran will end up controlling the Strait of Hormuz. And this will be the first time ever. And basically controlling the flow of more than 27%, between 20 and 27% of oil and gas, and third, of fertilizers goes through the Strait of Hormuz on a daily basis. In fact, economists estimate that Iran could make up to $80 billion annually if they impose a toll in the Strait of Hormuz. So here you have it. The reality is no one knows what's going to happen because remember, this is a moving target. You and I were talking about a moving target. Things are changing. Who knows? If the war continues, President Trump and Israel could destroy Iran, period. Destroy its regime, destroy, deindustrialize Iran, and as President Trump says, take it back to the Stone Age.
Fawaz Gerges, professor of Middle Eastern politics and international relations at London School of Economics. We want to thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.